I see the CISO as more of a business role. CISOs really need to be this persona who bridge between their security teams and operations and communicate to the management. Most of the other products out there obviously are much needed, right? But at the end of the day, in order to understand what is the right way to maximize the capabilities of this product, we need to have a strategy, and this strategy and security KPIs must be aligned with the business objectives.
Welcome to Audience First, a podcast for tech marketers looking to break out of the echo chamber to better understand their audience and turn them into loyal customers. Every week, Dani Woolf has brutally honest conversations with busy tech buyers about what really motivates them, the things they hate that vendors do, and what you can do about it. Get access to practical information on how to build authentic relationships with your audience. Listen to and talk with your buyers, and apply real customer insights to your strategies and tactics. You owe it to the world to unmute your mic. Are you ready?
Welcome back to another episode of Audience First. I have a very special guest with me today in the studio, the one and the only Sivan Tehila. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
It's exciting. We're in New York, which is new for me. In this awesome studio, we're going to talk about all the good things with regards to CISOs, Chief Information Security Officers. Sivan has a lot of insight to share. But before we dig in, Sivan, can you tell me a little bit about who you are, what do you do, and why the hell do you do it?
So my name is Sivan Tehila. I am the founder and CEO of Onyxia Cyber. I started my career more than 15 years ago. In the Army. I served for 10 years, and that's where I basically got exposed to the whole cybersecurity industry. After 10 years of service and being the CISO of the Research and Analysis Division, I shifted into the private sector, started to work with large organizations, and at some point also joined a new cybersecurity startup that ended up being very successful, Perimeter 81. And I think that over the years, in the industry and being a CISO myself, and also working very closely with CISOs while they were making decisions on implementing specific products, I realized that there is a real need or a real gap in the way we're managing security programs and in the way we're leveraging the data that we have in each one of these security products in a way that could be very beneficial for the CISOs for his day-to-day job. And if we think about that, almost any C-level executive in a company, they have their own management platform or a tool to manage their day-to-day efforts, but CISOs don't really have that. And I really wanted to come up with this platform that can be this core management platform for CISOs to get all the answers they need, to get all the reports they need, to analyze the data, and to be able to connect all the dots and manage better their security programs, but also their security stack. So I often say that my dream as a CISO is to be able to wake up in the morning and, like, I'm asking Alexa, hey Alexa, how is the weather today? To be able to go to one place and ask a platform like Onyxia, hey Onyxia, what are the top 3 things I should be afraid of today? What are the top 3 things I should focus on today? And basically based on that to prioritize my actions.
That's awesome. Now, when I worked as a marketer internally for cybersecurity startups, we all had our dashboards. I mean, you go to the trade shows and you look at the screens, loads of dashboards. What differentiates the Onyxia platform and that dashboard or like 30K foot view versus the other ones?
We're probably going to talk a lot about this, but I see the CISO as more of a business role. I think CISOs really need to be this persona who bridge between their security teams and operations and communicate to the management. And we want our platform to become this bridge between the security teams to the business. And I think that's really the difference. Most of the other products out there obviously are much needed, right? We need the product for vulnerability management. We need to cover detection and response, training and awareness. Everything is really is super important. But at the end of the day, in order to understand what is the right way to maximize the capabilities of these products and how to utilize this the process the products and maximize the and make out the most out of the processes that we have in place, we need to have a strategy, and this strategy and security KPIs must be aligned with the business objectives.
Right, right. Now, why I admire you so much is because you speak to a lot of practitioners. You're a practitioner yourself. You've talked to what I think is over 200 CISOs, and I think that's what really piqued my interest because I love talking to security professionals. You just recently published a report,
Mm-hmm.
Voice of the CISO 2024, and you guys talked about regulations. And tell me a little bit more about that report. What was kind of the goal of exposing some of that data?
Yeah, so I think I mean I have a few parts for the answer. I'll start with the fact that I really believe in staying connected to the field. When we started, we spoke with around 200 CISOs just to understand how they're currently managing their
Hmm.
programs, what are their KPIs they're measuring, what are the SLAs they're defining for each one of these KPIs.
Right.
We need to understand that there is no standard in the industry for security programs. So until now, we could just come up with a certain KPI and a specific SLA, and it was okay. But I think now with the evolving threats and with new regulations that are coming, things needs to be more organized and structured. And one of the examples is the new SEC regulation, the new cybersecurity rule that got into effect in December of 2023. And in this rule, the SEC basically require companies not only to disclose incidents in 4 days, security incidents in 4 days, but also they were talking about disclosing security programs and strategies.
Hmm.
And you can't really do that as a public company with Excel sheet. You need to
Yeah.
show improvement over time. You need to demonstrate that you're tracking your KPIs, and it all needs to be connected to their data. And handling this massive amount of data is very, very hard when things are not automated.
Right. Right. Now, one interesting statistic that was quite alarming when I read the report was that the majority of CISOs are unprepared for today's cybersecurity regulations. Uh, what do you propose CISOs can do to become more prepared?
Well, I think one of the things we discussed before the podcast was really building this community
Hmm.
around our platform. But I really believe in communities in general, and I
Hmm.
think being able to share knowledge with each other is super. It's super. It's very powerful.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're as CISOs. We're not reinventing the wheel. We're all trying to use similar tools and trying to align with similar KPIs most of the time. Obviously, there are some things that needs to be customized per organization.
Yeah.
But the ability to share knowledge with each other, it's something that we see the benefits of it, and we also, since we started the company, we were making sure to always reflect the knowledge we're getting from our community as part of the platform. So, for example, we have this library of KPIs where the CISO can choose which ones they want to activate,
Hmm.
but we give them the best practices in the industry, and we come up with suggestions, and we even share with them uh, the suggested SLA based on these surveys, based on the knowledge that we got from our partners and customers.
Hmm.
So they can always compare themselves to other companies in similar industries, and they can know, do I have a more strict SLA, less strict SLA? Is this KPI suggested by Gartner, for example, or
Yeah.
what's behind this KPI? So we really give them all this information, and sometimes we're getting a feedback, wow, why are you sharing all this information? Like, we're literally sharing the formula we're using in order to
Wow.
calculate the data. But I think it's important. That's how we create this trust with the customers. If someone is asking the CISO how you came up with this score, we want them to be able to explain that.
Mhm.
We want them to be the heroes. We want them to come up with this information and stay in control of what they have.
So I want to go back to what you mentioned earlier. You mentioned something along the lines of security is as much a business issue as it is a technical issue.
Mhm.
Now, how can CISOs balance and manage, their cybersecurity programs amongst the rapid change, the rapid business change, and also technical change and threat landscape changing?
Yeah, I think often we're talking about balance in many aspects in life,
Yeah.
right? I personally don't believe balance exists.
Oh,
I
spicy.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think you know that, but I'm doing pedal boarding on the Hudson here.
That I did
The
not
Hudson River.
know.
Oh, you
You're
didn't?
paddleboarding on the Hudson?
Yeah, so
Okay.
that's like my meditation over the weekend. I'll go for a few hours in the water. And I think one of the main lessons you learn in the water is that we're always trying to reach balance by pedaling, and getting the board straight. But after you do that for a while, you understand that it's not about reaching balance, it's about the ability to stay in harmony with the
Mm.
evolving changes.
Mhm.
So I think sometimes it's, more important to pedal faster on the right side. Sometimes you need to focus more on the left side. Sometimes, you need to take a different direction,
Mhm.
and you need to always assess the situation. So I think whenever someone is telling you that you need to balance defense and risks, I don't think that's possible. I think we need to look at the bigger picture and customize our actions based on the specific need. And sometimes you need to give more attention to your security awareness program. Sometimes you need to more focus on your detection and response. And that's why in the platform, we're also reflecting that. Sometimes you're overperforming in one place and you want to potentially reallocate some resources in order to use them to improve other domains that you're not as good in them. So I think, by the way, it's true for other things in life, right? I always tell my team that I don't believe in work-life balance. Maybe we want to cut it, but I have a good explanation for that. I really believe in work-life harmony. Sometimes you need to focus more on your family, and sometimes your work need more attention. So I really think that this is the same way in security. And it's about staying dynamic with your strategies and actions based on the evolving environment. I didn't mention it in the beginning, but Onyxia, the name, comes from World of Warcraft.
Yes.
And Onyxia is a very special dragon. She had a human form and a dragon form, and she could adjust based on the evolving environment. And that's really what we're doing with our dynamic security platform.
I love it. I love it. Going back to the report that I was reading, what was a compelling insight to me was the fact that newer CISOs are finding it easier than more veteran CISOs to communicate about security to the executive board.
Yeah, I also thought it's interesting.
Yeah.
And we work very closely with our customers, but also we have an amazing team of CISO advisors, including Rinky Stevi, Chris Roberts, Anshu, Lucas Moody, and Simon. I'm trying not to forget everyone, but they're all very well known and experienced CISOs. And when we built we're working now and also adding some board reporting templates as part of the product, and we worked with them very closely to understand how they report to the board, and it's really not an easy task.
Yeah.
What I would think is maybe maybe when you report to so many boards, you already have some experience with their reactions, and then when you're going to the next board and the next company, you come up with all this experience and thoughts, and maybe things becoming a little bit more complicated. I also think that maybe there is more knowledge nowadays,
Yeah.
and more communities where new CISOs can ask for an advice. I always have had mentors. I think I hear that a lot. I mean, I hear from our advisors that they're mentoring other CISOs, and I think it's very nice. And I also think that we have academic programs. I'm running
Mhm.
the cybersecurity program at Yeshiva University. It's a master's degree. But when I started, there was no academic program in
Right.
cybersecurity. You had to really, learn things yourself. So I think we have a lot more knowledge,
Yes.
communities, and sharing knowledge platforms. And that's probably what makes things a little bit easier.
100%. And I think to your earlier point, the fact that there's more awareness amongst the community that security is a business function, more so than
100%.
ever before. And so those newer CISOs coming into the role understand, okay, I need to be on point with regards to what's the business vision,
Mm-hmm.
what's the organizational vision, what's my vision from the security standpoint. And so it's much more critical and easier for them to align their vision to the business. Fun story, funny story and fun story. I was sitting in a room full of CISOs at enterprise organizations, and one CISO from a large airline starts firing on these marketing metrics and like explaining how he has to go to the CMO of this large airline and explain how security impacts marketing metrics. And then I sat there and I was like, holy shit, this guy knows more about marketing than most CMOs that I know. And so that really was one of the most alarming, or not alarming, it was the most surprising insight that I got from that conversation, is that, they really, CISOs who are in the role and understand them, really know all the cogs that work in the organization. I thought that was fascinating because
Mhm.
I came in with the assumption it was largely just technical. So I
Yeah.
rest my case. You know, we talk about CISOs having to manage risk
Mhm.
and measuring the effectiveness of their programs. How are CISOs effectively doing that?
Mhm.
And what are the implications of measuring and managing with the status quo methods, the more manual methods?
So I'll start with, when we started, as I mentioned, we realized most of these processes currently are being done manually.
Yeah.
Sometimes, CISOs, they have teams of analysts pulling the data from everywhere, or when there is a crisis and they need an answer, everyone in the team are looking for some specific details or metrics within the data. I think everyone agrees that this is a problem, and I didn't have a chance to speak with a CISO who said, "Oh, I don't need that." I
Yeah.
think it's becoming a must-to-have thing because of the regulation and
Mhm.
because of the fact that it's becoming very complicated when you have between 30 to 50 security products in place, not only to understand how how you're doing and measuring your security performance, but how do you justify these 30 to 50 security products and the investment in them? And what we're doing with Onyxia is not only to provide you with the KPIs and SLAs, but also helping you connect the dots when it comes to investments.
Mhm.
If I implemented a vulnerability management platform in the beginning of the year, how it helped me improve over time so I can justify this investment in the next year. And when I'm, looking at my budget and going to my management to ask for more budget or less budget.
Mhm.
So we're showing this connection between the security investments and the budgets and how those are affecting the KPIs. And I think that's one of the things that we need to always present, the ability to it's not quantification. It's really the ability to tie the spending to the KPIs and the outcomes of those spendings, and obviously to continuously measure them and improve them over time and make the adjustments that we need based on the uh, business needs, right? So I think yeah, I think that's really the way to do that. And obviously, speaking about the business, there is also the more high level view, which is the KRIs and how those are really connected to the KPIs, and how this is really connected to the spending and to the processes and people that we have in place.
So if I understand correctly, Onyxia is allowing that predictability through, like, how does that work? Just from a technical standpoint, because it
Yeah.
seems kind of complex, but I just want to understand under the hood how it's functioning.
So it sounds complicated, and I'm obviously, if you'll ask my team, they invested hours in coming up with these capabilities. But we're basically integrating with the existing security stack.
Mhm.
We're pulling the relevant data from there into our data lake, and we're basically processing this data and providing insights for the CISOs, not just in like nice dashboards and reports, but also with our Onyx AI engine. We provide them with insights on data trends. We show them where they got improved, where they need to pay attention. We help them to optimize SLA, so we can give them suggestions on SLA optimizations. And the predictions is something that is very powerful, and we recently released it. It's really our ability to predict when the company is not going to meet the SLA for a specific KPI. And that's a very powerful thing, because if you know that in a month or two you're not going to meet your SLA, you can take actions now and prevent your company or team from being in a crisis.
I I wish something like this existed for like young companies or entrepreneurs who are trying to run a business. This is just awesome. Maybe there's something out there. Anyway, I love this. This tool sounds so cool. Do you have any kind of interesting like use cases or case studies, anecdotes from customers? No need to name names. We can anonymize here, that you think are worth kind of mentioning with regards to the power of Onyxia.
Yeah, so we have I have two examples. One is a company with CISO is not a new CISO, but it was new to the company, and it's the first time the company needed to build a program. They had something in place, but they were not sure, and he needed a platform that can help him speed up with the process. So he was about to hire a team. And he also planned to hire a team of analysts to put together the KPIs and metrics. And he ended up, instead of hiring 3 people, just hiring 1 person. And he's using our platform to basically manage the security program. It helped them really make decisions on how to manage their spending, and it's something that makes him, I think, looks like a hero within the organization, because he immediately could come up with all these metrics and reports, and it's like magic. I love joining onboarding sessions, because it's like an hour session, and then you integrate with the products, you activate the KPIs, and then all the data start to be populated and correlated and presented. And it's amazing to see the immediate value that companies are getting out of it. So that's one story. I think the other story is really a very experienced CISOs who kind of like got lost in their environment. We're always talking about defense in depth and layered security approach. And what we're actually doing, we're implementing solution on top of solution on top of solution. And after a few years, you're ending up with 50 products and you don't know what it serves. How this is really, where do I have overlaps, redundancies? Do I really need that? Like, how much am I spending? And it's also helped them, by the way, getting this view, help them even negotiate with vendors, It's like, because they can really show them, like, am I getting the most out of your product or not? So that was an interesting experience, because we started working with the CISO. He onboarded all his tools, and then he started to realize, oh, wow, I really don't need that. Like, maybe I can focus more in these domains where I need to invest more money and my people's time. So I think, I love to bring up these 2 examples, because I think our platform can really serve different stages of companies from a security maturity perspective, but also different types of CISOs.
Yeah, that's fascinating. again, I admire the fact that you're close to the customer. I admire the fact that you've been speaking to them. I think there's one alarming statistic that stood out to me when I started my whole mission of customer research and security. 3% of founders actually spend time with their customers. And I just think that's absolutely bonkers, because you're building products and services for people. How do you do that if you don't spend any time with them? Um, 200 plus professionals. I mean, what's the secret sauce of getting in the room with them and having those conversations with them? What's worked for you?
I think in order to build something that is really powerful, you have to stay connected to the customers.
Mm.
And we started with this and we're continuing with this. And I think that's really uh, the power behind Onyxia. We're bringing all this amazing professionals' knowledge to other companies. And I don't think we could build a product without the experts we spoke with.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that until now, like it's not only during not only during the sales process that I speak to the customer to understand their needs, not only just in the onboarding sessions, but it's an ongoing process. After someone become a customer, you want to keep them happy, but you
Yeah.
also want to develop more capabilities to really help them improve themselves all the time. So many of our customers actually suggested more KPIs
Mhm.
after they joined, and we developed those. And those KPIs are now serving other CISOs.
Yeah.
Which I think that's kind of like a way for us to let the CISO this feeling that he can also create an impact by using the platform.
You mentioned continuously talking to them, and that's something that's super important. And I always try and tell people it's like you talk to a customer, you do an interview, trying to understand things that you can apply to your business. It's not one and done. You have to continue having those conversations because they're dynamic. Things change, the market changes, geopolitical implications apply to them as well. Um, but when you think about it, also from a sales and marketing perspective, um, it's much more expensive and much more difficult to acquire new customers than it is to retain your customers. And one thing that strikes me in having conversations with security practitioners is that they onboard to a product and then they're just ghosted by the vendor, which to me it seems super unfortunate, not just for the customer but also for the vendor, because that's a lost opportunity for retention, upsell, or renewal. And so I think the best way to retain that business is not just to have sales follow up or the founders follow up, but your marketing function, your product function, customer success.
It's a relationship.
It's a relationship. And I don't think it's a relationship just with one particular department. Like if you're doing the work as a marketer to understand the customer and they've converted into an opportunity and then into business, follow up with them. Same with product, same with CSMs and founders. And so I appreciate the fact that you mention continuous conversations. I've grilled you enough, but I do want to know, I always mention to my guests, if there's anything, you want to ask me, because this is a bi-directional conversation, by all means. Otherwise, we can wrap up with imparting thoughts.
I would love to hear your thoughts as, the marketing expert in the room. We spoke a lot about how we do that, and I think, as we mentioned, like it's about relationships and being always connected to the field. And in a way, I think it's even make your customer part of the mission. And I really see our CISOs part of the mission on helping the industry shape a new standard and get into a new reality where they have, like, they don't need to reinvent things. They're having the ability to share knowledge and use everyone else's knowledge. And I know you're also in the space of sharing knowledge, and it's something that you're passionate about. So happy to, hear your take on that.
Yeah, I appreciate you asking that. And in the conversations and the interviews that I ran, one challenge that emerges in frequently in conversation is we as practitioners sometimes have a hard time collaborating.
Mhm.
Yes, there are the peer communities. Yes, there are the Slacks. There are the events. But if we're to um, you know as practitioners, if we're to affect some change and secure the world, right, and protect people, if we're to do that, we need to be sharing information at scale. And it's hard to do that in the Slack communities and at the
Mhm.
events. Like, where can I find a space where I just have my information on demand at a moment's notice? Where can I find that? And so what I mean, that's the reason why I joined the Cyber Nest and want to share that mission. Is we've built a platform to essentially do that, is to bring the community together, is to share peer rated and peer reviewed information so that we're more efficiently collaborating, we're more efficiently sharing, we're getting access to good information at scale in one space that's trusted and protected from the vendor pitches and
Mhm.
the white papers and the webinars. But beyond that, we've also made it our mission to help practitioners work together too, not just share information, but also work together. So let's say, there's a specific scenario, or, part of the statistics in your report was that, 56% of CISOs have a hard time or don't trust their incident response plan. So
Mhm.
who's to say they can't go to another expert within the community and figure out how to improve that? So I think we're at a point where we understand that humans are dynamic. There's no one set process, to your point, and we need to be working together
Mhm.
as agile as possible, as efficiently as possible in trusted spaces, so that we can keep up with not just the threat landscape, but also the speed of business.
Mhm.
I don't know if that makes sense. I kind of went off on a
Yeah, so
tangent.
we're kind of like sharing a similar mission,
Yeah,
right? To
100%.
bring the
And that's why we're
knowledge out
here.
there, and
And
that's
that's why
yeah,
we're
that's why
here.
we're here.
Um, I love it. This is so fun. I think what is your kind of one piece of advice for any entrepreneur or founder in the security space to kind of get closer to their customers? Let's talk prescriptive. What should they do first?
Well, again, I don't know if I'm the right person to give an advice, but from my experience, really um, getting to your target audience and let them speak their pain and be honest about this pain and hear things that maybe you didn't want to hear at the beginning and kind of like adjust your vision accordingly. I think that was super helpful for us because we could just, I mean, at the beginning of the process, we had a specific idea in mind, but I think based on these conversations, our platform became what it is now. And um, obviously, it's neutral that you're changing things, but it's all really made by by the fact that we were sharing this vision with customers and CISOs, and we took their feedback very very seriously, and we're still doing that. So
I'm smiling because that's not easy for a lot of founders to do. A lot of founders have their vision, and this is how it's going to be built. I want to build it, and we're not going to, shift right or left. What needs to happen in order to feel comfortable for a founder to say, okay, I need to shut up and listen to the people who I'm trying to, solve a problem for?
I do that all the time. It's funny that I don't know why this example came up to my mind, but we spoke with a potential customer who basically told me, I want to speak to your technical team. And sometimes I feel like I know everything, but I
Mhm.
really don't.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I can answer that. But if he wants to speak to my team, he'll get it. Like we scheduled a 2-hour call with our technical team and he got what he wants. I
Yeah.
mean, I really see that as the way to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You give the customers whatever they want.
Do you think the customer is always right?
Yes.
Yes.
I think it's
Okay.
helpful to, present them with other perspectives.
Yeah.
But I don't think we can or want to replace the CISOs. There are the ones who are getting the hard questions.
Mhm.
There are the ones who are doing the hard day-to-day job. And there are the first ones to, be on the spot if something happens. So they're right.
We're going to be sharing this with the CISO community. Where can people find you?
Obviously, LinkedIn is the best place to make connections, but feel free to look at our website. It's onyxia.io. I'm happy to personally have a conversation with every CISO. I learn a lot from these conversations. So not necessarily, we don't have to have a demo immediately, but happy to just have a fun conversation and get to connect with people and share knowledge.
I had a demo and I loved it. So I'm an advocate. I think the tool is actually very valuable, very cool, something that I haven't seen in the space. This has been an absolute pleasure. I mean, I'm more than happy to come back to New York whenever you say, Dani, come to New York. We'll do some more podcasting. Super fun here. Any imparting thoughts before we sign off?
No, I think we covered
Right on.
everything. Yeah.
Right on.
Thank you so much. That
Well,
was fun.
yeah, absolutely. You're more than welcome to come back anytime. We've had you on our other podcast. What the fuck did I just read? That was a lot of fun. But this one was good because we got into the weeds with regards to the product and kind of the value you're giving to the community. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
This has been another episode of Audience First. We are out.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Audience First. If you like what you've heard, feel free to follow or subscribe to Audience First on Apple, Spotify, or any of your favorite podcast streamers.